9C, we're going to be testing the difference between two means. So in 9B, we did mean difference. So we had people or things that were paired up. We found all of the differences, and then we found the average of those differences. In this case, it's a little bit different. We're doing the difference between two means. So we have two groups. We're going to find the mean for one group, the mean for the second group, and then we're going to find the difference between those two numbers. Okay, so let's look at our steps. They're going to be very familiar to you. Identify null and alternative hypothesis, identify alpha, choose a correct test, and then find a p-value with Desmos. So for choosing the correct test, it's going to be the same rules that we've been using. You just have to make sure that both samples fit the rule. So we're going to use a z-test if both sample sizes are at least 30. All right. If one or both of them are less than 30, then we're going to use t. Okay, so both bigger than 30, z. If not, t. So here we have an example problem. I'll let you read through that, and then we will go through our steps for solving. All right, so when we write our hypotheses, okay, for our null hypothesis, we are always going to assume that there is no difference. So we're going to assume that the mean for sample 1 is equal, for population 1 is equal to the mean for population 2. Okay, again, the mu is tough for you guys to type in Desmos, so the way I want you to type it in Desmos is that mean 1 is equal to mean 2, and you don't have to worry about making the numbers smaller, just like we did for the proportions. Okay, and then our alternative hypothesis, so this is always going to be the null. This is not going to change for everything that we're doing in this class. Okay. They want to know if there's enough evidence to conclude that the mean salary for teachers in Ohio is higher than teachers in Georgia. So you have to pay attention to the way that they are defining these things. So Georgia is mean 1 because they put ones here, and Ohio is mean 2. So if Ohio is higher, that means that our alternative would be that Georgia is lower. Okay, we're always going to write it in the order they give us. So in Desmos, it would look like mean 1 is less than mean 2. Or sorry, informative. All right, so now let's go to Desmos. Here are our steps. It's going to look very, very familiar. So we're going to click on our plus sign and get inference. Okay, our sample size here for both groups was 200. So we're going to do a z-test. We're going to change it to stats. Okay, and then we're going to put in the info. So for Georgia, the sample size was 200. The mean was 49,900. Remember, we're not going to put commas in Desmos. They don't like it. And then our standard deviation was 6,935. Okay, then we click our plus sign for sample 2. And in Ohio, the sample size there was still 200. The mean was 51,900. And the standard deviation was 6584. All right, create our test, click significance test. All right, this defaults to 0, and we're going to leave it as 0 because we're assuming for our null hypothesis that the two means are equal, which means that the difference between them would be 0. And then for tails, it's the same rules, okay? Our alternative hypothesis was that mean 1 is less than mean 2, so we would pick the tail to the left. So our p-value would be 0.002. And then we would write our conclusion sentence the same that we've been doing. Okay, so in this case, because our p-value is less than the alpha of 0.01, we would reject the null hypothesis, which means we do have enough evidence to conclude that the mean salary for teachers in Ohio is higher than teachers in Georgia. All right, here we have a second example. You can read that. And for this one, our sample sizes are 15 and 12. Those are less than 30, so that means we're going to do a t-test. Okay, so basically all the same steps, but this time we're choosing t instead of z. All right, so for our hypotheses, remember our null hypothesis is always going to be that mean 1 is equal to mean 2. All right, so then for our alternative, okay, they want to know, the claim is that there is a difference. Okay, is a difference. They don't tell us less than or greater than, so that means our alternative is going to be that mean 1 it does not equal mean 2. They didn't give us a direction, so we just say not equal. Right, then let's go to Desmos. All right, plus sign, inference, this time t-test. And then I'm going to put in the information. So for high school, we had a sample size of 15 with a mean of 27,136 and a standard deviation of 2318. Click plus sample 2. All right, this time we have a sample size of 12 with a mean of 34,329 and a standard deviation of 4962. Create our test. Okay, we don't change this, we keep it at 0. And then because our alternative is not equal to, we're going to keep the tails at both. So our p-value is 0.0003. Okay, so our sentence, that is less than 0.01. So because the p-value is less than alpha, we reject the null hypothesis. We do have enough evidence to support the claim that there is a difference in the mean annual earnings based on level of education. All right, and that's how we do 2 sample tests for difference of means.